We want to say thank you to our sponsors, Watchman Cigars, 1812 Barbecue, Blue Collar Cycle Shop, and our new sponsor, Operation Decisive Victory. Without you and our Patreon subscribers, this episode would not be possible. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Southern Fried Philosophy Podcast, where it's our take on life, liberty, and the pursuit of gravy, and you, the listener, are getting a degree in common sense. We are broadcasting from our Blue Collar Cycles bunkers right here in beautiful Concord, North Carolina. We've got a great show lined up for you as always, but before we begin, let me introduce you to our starting lineup. Manning the chat room and the video, it is Magic Man, a.k.a. Rydog.
Hell yeah, brother.
And behind the control deck, it is producer Brian.
Hey, guys.
I, of course, be your host, Biggin, and how about you? And across the way is the pride of Anderson, South Carolina, but most of you probably know him best as the Silver Tongue won 2016's Honorable Mention Motorcycle Salesman of the Year, the inventor of the Redneck Egg Roll. Give it up on old Mike number one. It's Mojo!
I've got to read this dad joke because it's made me die laughing all day, and I don't want to mess it up because I'm pretty bad at messing up jokes.
Okay.
But what's the difference between a dirty bus station and a lobster with breast implants?
Oh, Lord.
One's a crusty bus station. The other's a busty crustacean. I can't even say it because I'm laughing, man. It cracks me up.
How about you just busted that crusty joke?
God, even reading it, too. That's pretty bad.
Just like
That's
our
me.
show.
The gift of gab. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I have switched locations. I'm now in my secret bunker at Blue Collar. Right.
Look at that.
Got motorcycles in the background. This is a shameless plug for the shop.
Shing.
So yeah, I'm shameless. Anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. You can find us on the Facebooks at Southern Fried Philosophy. You can also find us on our website at southernfriedphilosophy.com. We have our playable links there. He also has our basically our bios and some snippets, and basically producer Brian does a great job of doing our show notes. You can also, wherever you basically have you download your podcast, just go there, search for Southern Fried Philosophy, hit subscribe, give us a review, a rating. That's how we move up in the old podcast algorithm. Also, if you'd like to contribute to the show, you can join us on patreon.com/SFP radio, and also our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SFP radio.
All right. Well, hey, again, if you are watching us live, we appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe and like, as Mojo said, to our podcast through Google Play, Stitcher, all those things. If you are listening to the show, you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, and please subscribe to YouTube. Hit the subscribe, get the notifications when we go live. If we get up to 100, we get a new handy-dandy logo and website URL, and that would be great, and we would appreciate that. We want to say shout out to all of our new listeners from all over around the world. I noticed we've been getting some more from Africa. I don't know if it has to do with the Nigerian prince that's been emailing me, but it could be. I don't know. I'm going to ask you like I ask you every week. Guys, how are you doing? Producer Brian, how you been doing?
Well, I'm doing good. Carbapalooza continues, so I'm still eating terrible food. Have some time to continue that. Finally tried the Wendys Breakfast, as you've been suggesting for 6 months or so.
Right. And if you're just tuning in, we tried to be healthy at the beginning of the year. We all went on diets. Things were going great. And then coronavirus hit, and we decided it was either carbs or corona, and we all chose carbs. So at least we're still alive. So that's good.
Yeah.
We were all going to die in March anyway, so it didn't really matter.
Well, it's still March, so it could still happen, right?
That dude is.
I thought it was
it's
April.
June, right? Because I don't even know what dang month it is. It's ridiculous.
I have no idea what.
So
I didn't know it was Thursday.
So I am stoked about your review of the Wendys Breakfast.
Yes, the much anticipated producer Brian Wendys Breakfast sandwich review. So I took your advice. I got the honey butter chicken biscuit.
Hey, buddy.
It was chicken, there was a biscuit.
Oh, no.
And there was honey butter.
Oh, no.
The honey butter was definitely the best part.
Oh, no.
You like where this is going, right?
No.
To be honest, it reminded me of a Chick-fil-A sandwich, like not in the best way. Like the biscuit, it might as well. I think you could get a better breakfast at Chick-fil-A if you get a little packet of honey and put it on the chicken breast there. I think you'll be in a better place. Maybe my Wendys ain't doing it right, but
wow,
It was okay, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't all the hype I thought was going to happen. I also ordered a Frosty Chino, which
how did you like that?
The picture looks amazing, right? Mm-hmm. It's watered down coffee with like some half melted Frosty in it, so that wasn't great either. So I didn't have a great experience. That's basically what I'm saying here.
Yikes!
Let's just finally admit that everyone's breakfast besides Bojangles is just a hot garbage dumpster fire.
It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think I would rather have the Wendys than I would Bojangles. I know it's weird. Maybe that's just me.
Wow. Weird. So just to be clear, I've had since I stopped. I'm back on the carbs. I've had Bojangles twice. In the last week, and no other fast food at all. So
you're dialed into the Bojangles.
That's my place, yeah.
Yeah. Mojo, how you be doing?
Speaking of biscuits, you know what burns mine is people riding around in cars, riding their bicycles, their mopeds in open air with masks on. That's what burns my biscuits. I saw a guy jogging today in downtown Salisbury getting it with a mask on. Not like some the training mask, but one of those paper masks. It drives me nuts. We're all doomed.
So a guy was running, getting his exercise in, picking him up and putting him down with a paper mask on, and thought he was saving the world.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what the science and data says right now with because it changes about every other day with the CDC, but does Rona linger in the air like in a 100 square mile radius after someone's cough?
Well, how much farther are you exhaling when you're running? That's my question. Yeah. So is it
how about the people in the car?
Exponential? Well, the car, if you're with another person.
No, I'm talking isolated.
Yeah, isolated your own car. That's weird. I mean, I wear a mask when I go in public, but if I get back in the car, usually in the parking lot it comes off.
Yeah.
I bet these are the same people that stand outside for Black Friday Midnight Madness and punch people over a vacuum cleaner. These have got to be the same people.
What kind of vacuum cleaner?
Oh, yeah, that depends.
Well, yeah.
The only thing that I think makes sense is if you're going to the grocery and you have your mask on, you get back in the car and you don't want to touch it. That's the only thing that makes sense. So you're just like, well, I'll just wait till I get home so I can, take it off and then wash my hands.
You're showing a little bit too much grace and compassion here.
I know.
Trust me, these people didn't go anywhere.
I get it.
But to their car.
I get it.
And then they hop in it. They're probably listening to their 99.9 whatever station, and they're driving around and they're going nowhere, but they have a mask on. It just don't.
So you think they're running listening to NPR? Is that what it is?
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah, probably Fresh Air with what's her name? The sweaty balls.
Oh my
girl, whatever her name is.
This is a family show.
Oh, also something else that burns my biscuits, and we'll go to you. I'm sorry. Evidently, I didn't know this was science and data, but evidently, I guess Corona, the vaccine for Corona is protesting because they've made several announcements that you can protest in public, inches apart, and not spread Rona, but you can't be beside anyone at a restaurant or church or the gym or whatever, wherever you plan to go. But evidently, we should probably just protest, 365 because we won't get Corona then.
Well, that would fall into the camp of common sense, and as we say on the show, common sense now is a superpower. It doesn't quite make sense to do that, but evidently, as you said, that is the vaccination is the protest, but. Again, you're kind of out there huffing and puffing, so that 6-foot rule kind of goes bye-bye anyway.
Right. How you be doing, Big?
I'm exhausted. listen, I realize that I am not the Hulk because I was so angry at the technology today that I wanted to rip my laptop in half and just call it quits. It's been a rough couple nights. A small batch has decided she wants to teethe at 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the morning. So we are doing everything we can. It is a handle. And if you guys aren't familiar, I've got a 10-month-old that decides she likes to party way too late. Teeth are coming in from the top. Yeah, it looks cute, but hey, buddy, it is a disaster. So I'm exhausted. My wife and her aunt and small batch are all going away for the weekend, so I'm going to have 6 days of just unadulterated sleep. So as soon as this thing's over, I'm just going to bed. I'm exhausted. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
Well, guys, we've got this weekend, when this show plays, it will already have happened, Father's Day. You got any plans? What are you guys doing for Father's Day?
I just found out it was Father's Day this weekend.
Yesterday. I need you to look at your Google Calendar a little bit more than you do. I love you, but come on.
Yeah, I'm not very good with calendars.
Clearly,
I'm not very organized.
I understand that 100%.
I have sticky notes in my office. That's how my calendar. I'm old school.
Oh, so. You need an updated thing. I've got to get you updated on that.
I think we're all going to Brian's house for biscuits or for brisket.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be heading for vacation on Saturday. So I'll be up in the mountains on Father's Day. And today, for myself and my dad will be up there, I bought a 15-pound brisket.
What?
So I'll be working on that all day on Father's Day.
Does that make you happy?
Yes.
A 15-pound brisket?
Yes. 50. Well, any brisket, a whole brisket, It wasn't a terrible price. So, yeah, that's what I'll be doing on Father's Day. Cooking meat and then eating it. And then eating it the next day and the next day and the next day.
Are you bringing it to any of our houses, doing a drop-off?
I won't make it that long.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
So
next time.
In the fight for equality, how many think that they're going to have a Father's Day just as good as we gave it out for Mother's Day? Show of hands?
It won't happen.
Well, you're assuming we did a good job for Mother's Day.
Well, they're going to do a better job they're going to get more than we are. But should Father's Day not be just as good as Mother's Day?
I think it should, but it never is.
It never is, right?
I mean, everyone loves Mom, right? I mean,
I think my wife's in the other room. Shh. Oh. But it never is. Like moms get the cards, they get the calls, they get the flowers, they get the thing. Let's be honest, the only thing that we really want is just to leave us alone for like an afternoon. Just leave us alone, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Brisket.
I'll probably making excuses to come to work. So.
Just to be alone.
Just to be alone.
Yeah. Well, also, too, to celebrate, it's going to be our 4-year anniversary coming up. So, Mojo, we kicked this thing off 4 years ago. When this episode airs, it will be 4 years ago today.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
You've put up with me for 4 years.
Well, it's not clearly due to your Google Calendar. I know that much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's my charming personality and winning smile.
Well, we did say that it is a special ODV episode. So, Mojo, can you kind of kick us off a little bit of how this thing started? And you had a connection with Tintu and started a dialogue with him about some help. And then we've got a plethora of people. So we want to say Mr. Reed is a military vet. We have some other businesses that have helped out, including yourselves. So we want to give everybody a shout out and talk to them. So just tell us a little bit of the backstory of how this started.
Well, first off, I saw that Donna messaged us everyone's names. And,
I got you.
Oh, man, if we thought Tintu's name, Parameswar, was hard enough to say, we got all these other names, too. So Mr. Reed is the only one.
That's the only one we got.
So we'll bring them in and let them. I don't want to butcher the name. So, but yeah. So we met Tintu and Donna, I guess through Uncle Leon.
Uncle Leon, I think so.
Yep. Okay. So anyway, Operation Decisive Victory, OperationDB.com. We met this lovely couple and just very awe-inspiring. Tintu spent over 15 years in the military. Just served valiantly in the intelligence field. And his story is on one of our previous episodes. I can't remember what number that is now. But anyway, seeing the gaps in the VA and just the government dropping the ball with our military who has served and dedicated a period of time to us, to the country, Operation Decisive Victory, in their own personal struggle, they decided to start this foundation to basically bridge the gap. And that's where Tintu and Donna, his wife, started this foundation with other people to be that stopgap between, the system and then whatever. So I guess a few weeks ago, Tintu actually came up. We did a Facebook Live. We donated some money. I think the show donated some money, and just sharing the story that the current cause was for Mr. Reed, and just where the VA. I mean, I don't want to speak for Operation Decisive Victory, so I'll keep my words close to my chest. But just there was a lapse in a safety net. So that's basically where we're at here now. And Mr. Reed has agreed to join us to share his story and obviously show a success story with what Tintu does. And so I guess we'll take it from there.
And I've been practicing while you've been speaking. So Arnold Morner, you are from Arnold's Pressure Washing?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. And Lee Provancher. Did I do that right?
Pretty good.
If you were to grade me, is that like a C, B minus?
B minus.
All right, fantastic. That sounds a lot like my entire high school career. And you are from Groundbreakers Grading and Hauling Company. So appreciate you guys joining us. So let's kind of start with the businesses. And I see here that Lee, your service was the USMC. And that was the branch of service that you were in?
Correct.
And how long were you in service for?
4 years.
4 years. And so you get out and you start the Groundbreakers Grading and Hauling, which, by the way, I might need you because I've got some grading that I need done. What motivates you to help the veterans? Is it because you were a former vet?
That and just seeing how badly they're treated in this country that they serve. It just shouldn't happen. And I feel very strongly that we as a country and former vets need to help our vets that are struggling.
Is there that sense of community that you had while you were in the military that's bled over to just even your personal business as well, it sounds like?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some struggles that maybe you've seen personally that's been frustrating, some stopgaps from your point of view?
Just seeing them out on the streets, bad weather, heat, they need to be taken care of it. And every little bit that we can help, would help them greatly.
Yeah. What can you tell us a little bit about your company and what exactly you guys do?
We do demolition, land clearing, grading, hauling, residential and commercial work in North and South Carolina.
Oh, wow. And how do people get in contact with you if they have any of that they need?
Facebook. We got a website, but mostly a lot of our people get up with us through Facebook.
Okay. Cool. Let's go to Arnold, because you're a small business owner. You didn't serve in the military, but you still also have a heart and a passion for vets too. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. my dad's a Marine, and I too wanted to be a Marine, but I was turned down due to physical reasons that I was not aware of.
Oh, wow.
But it's okay. But absolutely, anytime that I see a veteran in need, I feel that, that could be me, that could be anybody. I mean, certain situations, circumstances or whatnot. So I feel that it's very important that, we should all just keep a lookout, keep our eyes open, ears open, just at all times, just for situations like that you could possibly be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you guys being a small business, do you guys get constantly inundated with, hey, help us with this, donate this, that kind of stuff? Because I know Uncle Leon has said that multiple times where it's just almost overwhelming, and you kind of got to pick and choose, no pun intended, your battles of which one you're going to give to. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you get phone calls constantly, daily, from all types of different organizations, and you really don't know exactly where they're coming from. So basically what I'll do is, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I wouldn't be anywhere,
toot.
But basically the way that I donate is, at the end of every day, whatever I made on 10%, I'll take 10% of my gross earnings that day, and I'll just try to find a mom, in Dollar General that's cussing at her kids because, they want every piece of candy, and so I'll just go over there and just kind of help out, just give her whatever. And the same with veterans, same with basically anyone that I may see out about, especially Salisbury. You know how it is in Salisbury, you're going to get hit up, every time. So long story short, I'll try to give to someone on the street before I'll give to any organization, basically. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Maybe.
And you do pressure washing, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And then it's Arnold's Pressure Washing. How do people get in contact with you if they need pressure washing?
Mainly, again, like Lee said, on Facebook. You can go to Arnold's Pressure Washing on Facebook, and you'll see I'm on there. I annoy people daily. I'm all over Facebook. So.
I understand that.
Yeah.
So how did this intend to, maybe you can ask, like, how did the partnership between you, Lee, and Arnold, how did that happen? And Brandon, by the way. So Brandon also gave as well with this story from Mr. Reed.
Well, I guess the partnership is that community connection we talk about. We've been working with Mr. Lee and Arnold well over probably 2 years now, as far as fundraising efforts go, helping out local veterans go. So it's really about that networking, again, letting people know that we exist. And I know, you had asked earlier about being hit up about donations and fundraising. One of the big things that ODV constantly tries to promote and encourage our community to understand is, for us as ODV, it's not always about money. Will money help? Yes, great. If you have a service that we can use to help a family out, that's really equivalent to money. So in Arnold's case, where we have an older veteran couple that may be in some trouble because they can't afford to wash their driveway or their house, and they're getting hit up by their HOA or whatever it may be, that's where we would reach out to, hey, Arnie, would you be able to help us out with this family? And he could. And Mr. Lee's case, the same thing, hey, Mr. Lee, we have this veteran that needs some assistance. You have a professional skill that, he currently cannot afford. Would you be willing to help out in that sense? So the assistance that we provide is never always about money, though money would help. And that's really how these connections came about. At the end of the day, being a veteran or a supporter of a veteran community, you guys will always have something you can contribute that a veteran somewhere, somehow can utilize. And that's really where this relationship started with us.
And that was just, again, local small business in Salisbury?
Well, I believe Arnold's out of Salisbury and Mr. Lee's out of Mount Pleasant.
Okay. So Tentu, can you give us like a brief overview of, and I don't want to steal Mr. Reed's spotlight, but how did you get connected with Mr. Reed? And then how has his story, Lee and Arnold, if you guys can tell us, how did his story and the impact that ODV had change your experiences or your life, if you could say that?
Well, in Mr. Reed's case, he was one of those veterans that unfortunately fall on hard times, like many that we come across. But in his case, he came to the realization that he had a problem. To resolve that problem, he approached the local VA. They had admitted him into a local program to assist him with that recovery. Unfortunately, at the end of his program, they shook his hand, said, "Thank you for your service, and you're good to go about your day and life," without taking the proactive measure of, hey, you came in here at risk or homeless. Before we put you back out there, let's connect you to community resources or even within our own organization. And in Mr. Reed's case, one of the things that the VA did do was provide him a list of resources that he could contact, shelters and halfway homes. But again, with the current situation the way it is, most of those places are either full or they're not accepting because of our current climate of COVID. And from there, Mr. Reed went back to what he was familiar with, which is surviving on the streets, especially as a Marine. Failure is not an option for us. It doesn't matter where you put us. We will bounce back and we will survive. And I guess that mindset kicked in for him. And he went right back to doing what he was familiar with doing until he met, or until Arnold met Mr. Reed.
Well, and Mr. Arnold, Mr. Lee, how did the story of Mr. Reed, how has that impacted you guys? And we'll go to Lee first.
I just happened to come over and see Tentu one day, and he told me about Mr. Reed and showed me a few pictures. And, with it being so close to home, I was, it really touched me pretty good because it was so close to the area where I live, and we do our shopping in Salisbury. And, I really honestly it never crossed my mind that there'd be a homeless vet here in little old Salisbury. But sure enough, there was, and there's probably a lot more that we don't know about. And I just wanted to do something to help them.
Awesome. Mr. Arnold, how did that impact you?
Greatly. I guess for some time, there was probably a 2 or 3 year span that I just kind of got tired of dealing with people who hit me up at Taco Bell in the parking lot. And I just kind of, I used to give all the time, but I just kind of got into a routine where I was like, just get away from me. And I had an opportunity to pressure wash Tentu's house, and he just kind of ran it by me again. Hey, if you see anyone out, So it affected me greatly, like I said, because I was able to reach out, and it just, I don't know, I just feel great. I mean, I didn't do much but make a phone call, but it just, I feel great about it. I don't know what else to say.
Sure.
But
yeah, and I don't want to minimize, and I don't. It's a rarity that I get to interview Mojo. So, as a business owner, you kind of also stepped in, blue collar cycle shop.
Well, what we did was a very small part, so I'm not going to take any credit for that, because we try to preach. We try to preach, treat people the way you want to be treated. Like I talked about on the show before, what would Jesus do? He would love first. And sometimes love is monetary. Sometimes love is helping someone. Sometimes it's listening to someone. And, all I can do is use like our shop as a platform, and Tentu and his organization are sit very close to heart, just because here in Salisbury we have the VA right down the road. I don't know how in comparison to North Carolina, I'm not sure how large it is, but I know a lot of people, a lot of vets get shipped here, and we get to see the result of some of the failed policies of the VA. And we have a enormous homeless population here in Salisbury, and a lot of those are vets and vet families. And there's really nothing out there to help. So, and just like he said, I'm not a very big fan of like donating to huge organizations like, the national ones, the ones that have the telethons back in the day. And you see the fancy flyers and they do the 5K runs. I don't donate to those because their overhead is so exhaustive that, very little of the contributions go back to the actual ground, So, tend to, was it 97%, I think? It's in the high 90s of every donation goes directly to the cause versus the opposite. And that's the reason why, if anything we do in the future, when we do with Operation DV, I know every dollar that we put our name behind, we try to raise goes directly to, the vets that need help. So.
All right, let's go to the star of the show, Mr. Reed.
Oh. That's you, man.
That's you.
Hey, God bless you guys, man.
Oh, man. God bless you. Thank you again for your service. I'm not supposed to say that, Tintu said, but, I'm going to say it anyway. Tell us your story.
Well, it's quite simple. First, I want to thank y'all for y'all service. And Mr. Mojo, you contributed greatly more than what you think. Mr. Lee, Mr. Parameswar. And as far as you guys even airing this on the thing's called a podcast, God bless you and thank y'all, man, because it helps from the bottom of my heart. It touches me. I came out here March 11th, and I was in I can't remember the name of the VA hospital, William Hefner in Salisbury. And I stayed in there from March 11th to April the 3rd. And as Mr. Parameswar say, and I'm not down in the VA or nothing like that or the government or nothing, but sometimes they don't help or they selective on who they help. Not color racism, because I came from being an alcoholic. And right when I got in there, then the virus hit. And they weren't accepting no one into a program. But then they let two guys go into a program that were like drug addicts for whatever their drug was. And God bless their heart as well. So after 23 days, they told me, so, okay, you could just go out now and you could do it yourself. And they knew I had nowhere to go. And my doctor took me off work like 15 years ago when I was 40. Without structure in life with nothing to do, I'm not going to do nothing but drink. So I went behind this church and the window was broke. I slept right there. And later, I met this gentleman like 1:20 in the morning. Mr. Arnold did way more than what you think, bro. Can I shake your hand?
Yeah,
it's
man.
like 1:20 in the morning, bro. He ain't got no reason to talk to me whatsoever. No race or color, nothing but 1:20 in the morning. Not saying you're not going to trust nobody. You're going to do what you do at the store. You're going to get in your car and leave. And he comes up to me and he asks me if I'm okay. He's trying to give me some money. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I got money. He's like, nah, take this. And he gave me $5. And he kept talking to me. All of a sudden, he was like, no, wait a minute. Give me that $5 back. He's like, here, go take this 20. I'm like, no, I'm okay. He's like, nah, take it.
I don't know why I didn't give you both.
It doesn't matter. you gave me love out your heart, bro, from the beginning. And then,
you're also a really bad negotiator.
Man. Well, I think it was all in God's blessing because, see, behind that church, I'm like this, like Mr. Parameswar say. I came out here to the VA. I came with them with a backpack and a sleeping bag. Because no matter what it's like being in the military, if you're out there in the desert, in the woods, or wherever you're at, bro, you got to survive. So wherever I go at night, I try not to be seen by that many people. And when I'm there, I'm not going to get up and move. For some reason at night, I felt uncomfortable. I said, I'm going to go sit at the gas station, charge my phone, listen to music, wait for the sun to get up. Because I kept seeing this one car that shouldn't have been there. I've been behind that store since I got out. I can't remember when I met Mr. Arnold, but it's like 1:20 in the morning. And he came to my attention, and he's the one that initiated the conversation. And before he finished, he was like, you know what? I know this other guy, he's a Marine. He like, I pressure washed. I say, I'm going to give him a call. I said to him something like, bro, it's like 1:20 in the morning. He like, nah. He said, this dude is cool. He told me if I need him anytime, call him. He told me if I see another vet. And that's what started in Mr. Arnold, which led to Mr. Parameswar. And he put me in, he came and got me. He asked to take a couple pictures. I ain't got no shame. This is how I'm living. And then after that, he took me to the Condo Lodge. I believe his company put up like 4 days, and he told me Mr. Lee and some other sponsors, I believe Mr. Mojo or something like that, they had me there for like 10 days. And then Mr. Parameswar went even further, which I thank God for all of y'all. He went even further. He hooked me with Volunteers of America. I heard about him before, but not to the extent. And they put me over into the Comfort Inn and Suite. And I'm going through the process trying to get an apartment. I got lists. I should have brought it where I could show y'all visually, not just saying it. But I'm calling these places, and it's not just the virus. The virus got a lot of effect on it. A lot of them just got no availability. Some got like apartments, they like for a 1 bedroom is like 2.5 year waiting list. A 2 bedroom is like 1.5 years. A 3 bedroom is like 6 months, 9 months, 1 bedroom. So if there's no availability, you got a waiting list. And in California, I was born in St. Missouri, but I came from California. What you have primarily, like in California, with a job, you have to make like twice the amount of the rent. Out here in North Carolina, you have to have 3 times the rent. Okay, so I get $800 from the VA, $800 from Social Security, but I've been paying 2 child supports for like 22 years. So half of the $814 from child support, it goes $407 to the state. I get $407. So if you got a place that costs $600, I got to have $1,800 to even apply for the application. Which after 4 is gone, I got 12. But there's other criteria because with the VOA, not to bash them, to get an apartment and I can't afford it, I have to have a roommate. Now, the leasing company will give 1 lease, but the VOA wants you to have 2 separate leases so that they can put in for whatever their donation or whoever is giving the money to show for both people. So within that, I'm going to close right here and say, because of Mr. Arnold, God touching blessings heart using him, with the connection he made with Mr. Parameswar through business, with the connection with Mr. Lee through business, and Mr. Mojo through all of y'all, I sit here before y'all thanking y'all.
Yeah.
So much red tape into. I don't understand why so much.
Well, I try to explain it to everybody as simply as possible. As it was designed that way. When you build a structure or formulate a business, and it was designed to be restrictive, we can't be upset about it. We can't say go fix it. You can't fix something that was built that way. It's in design, and we've talked about it quite a bit. We can sit here and complain about a system that was designed to be the way it is, or we can take that matter into our own hands and say, as a community, we can come together, local businesses, local influencers, and reaching out to local veterans. And even when it's not money, it can be services. And again, in Mr. Arnold's case here, just the fact of knowing that there's an organization like us, he just didn't walk past this veteran. Instead, he said, you know what, I got somebody, I'm going to pick up this phone and call. Through that, we make that difference. The red tape no longer matters to us. Yeah. It doesn't matter to us how long it's going to take the VA to come around to help Mr. Reed, as long as we can get him in that meantime back on his feet and connected to the resources that are already out there to help him. Right. Again, no purpose in reinventing the wheel, but it's about bridging that gap and connecting our veterans to those resources that already exist. The reality is nobody's out there walking down the street going, are you a veteran? Do you need help? Are you a veteran? Do you need help? So that's where we have to take that initiative. And when we have those vets that need the help, we connect them to those resources. And again, we hold that relationship with the resources in a form of accountability, in aiding them in any way they can. Like Mr. Reed said, VOA gave him a list of places to go find, and it's on the veterans, burden to go and find these places. They'll help you establish your residency and everything. However, the income part is another concern about establishing housing here. In Mr. Reed's case, he needed some paperwork that was way back in California that he needed to get here. Those are steps that, unfortunately, an organization like VOA, whose specific goal is housing, will not take care of. But Mr. Reed picked up the phone and said, hey, man, I got this problem. I need this paperwork, and I don't have it. It's in a storage unit somewhere in California, and I don't even know who to send over there. But we were able to make the connects. We were able to call the right people out there, take that 10, 20 minutes out of the day to make that liaison to get the documents for him. So now that's one step closer to him getting his suitable housing for himself. And even in this case, the income component, we're like, listen, there's always a negotiating point. When you come across those renters or leasing agencies that are requiring a specific income, let us talk to them. Let us reach out and explain to them your circumstance. Coming from a third-party organization, a lot of times other organizations are keen on taking that word and say, okay, we understand his situation. Let's work with him. Yeah. Rather than the vet trying to establish for himself. But yeah, the red tape will always exist. There's nothing we can do about removing that other than taking, ownership of what's happening to our own and doing what we need for our own.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Well done. It's like he's done this before once or twice, right?
Yeah.
Tintu, I don't know if you have a law degree, but the next time I get a speeding ticket, I think I'm gonna have you present my case before me, for the judge. So you do an excellent presentation. But I know, like I said, I love this country. I love being an American, but we do have problems. And like Tintu says, this system is set up to not fail, but set up to just have hurdles. I mean, we've talked about before, the average American commits 7 felonies a day when they leave their house. Just laws are written upon laws. The same thing with the VA. The VA has so much structure, so many gaps where it's hard to make these hurdles. We don't realize that, and until you get into the system. I'm not a vet, but every vet I talk to, the same thing happens. Waiting lists to waiting at the hospital to, they need a service dog. Well, it may be 5 years before they get a service dog. I mean, there's just so much. And what I love about this and taking this mission of community, we can do better than the government. We can do it probably 10 times cheaper, a hell of a lot faster with connections that we can do in the community. So this podcast is, obviously to share Mr. Reed's story, to highlight these local business owners, Operation Decisive Victory, but anyone listening in the greater community that listens to the Southern Fried Philosophy podcast, we encourage you to do the same.
Yep.
To go out. There's homeless vets. There's vets in need everywhere. Not just regular Joe Blow that walking down the street, but there's people out there that we encourage you to be your brother's keeper and to if you've been blessed, bless someone else. It takes 5 minutes a day, and you can change someone's life. And plus, I'll be honest with you, helping becomes addictive. You get a dopamine high every time you help someone, and it can become selfish. You can enjoy helping someone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Mr. Reed will pay this forward in his life and give back in tremendous ways that these guys could never ask to be repaid for. I mean, I'm sure he'll help his fellow man by helping whoever he can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Guaranteed.
And the great thing about ODV is you don't care where the vet is at. You'll help across the country. So if you are living in Kentucky, you can give money to ODV, and ODV will help anybody that they can, and potentially somebody in Kentucky. So make sure if you have some extra bucks and you want to throw to their way, I would much rather you give to ODV than the SFP. So please make sure that if you have a charity that you want to give to, these guys are it. Mr. Reed, what are some of the lessons that you've learned through this experience with ODV?
Well, I heard somebody use an expression earlier, don't want to toot nobody horn. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to toot the horns I learned from the ODV as a community comes together for one. You got me? Now, I also got to give my hat and just take it off if I had one to Mr. Parameswar, because this gentleman, I'm in, not to disclose where I'm at, but I'm seeing a lot of things that reflect his career in the military. And I'm talking about this gentleman's highly decorated. And when you come home and the government don't help you and you ain't got nowhere to go and you say, you know what? Well, right now, well, damn it, I'm going to go to myself, all balls to the wall. I'm going to look out for myself, self-preservation, which people learn as kids or whatever in life. Instead, this gentleman, him and his wife, thank God for his will, they come together collectively and say, okay, what can I do? Not just to me, but to make a difference, because the infrastructure of the structure is broken down. Whether it's selective choice who they pick and choose to help. He started an organization just not to benefit from, but to help other veterans. So it's a lot that I've learned, and things I've learned as well as being from like growing up with my parents. But see, what Operation Decisive Victory is doing like this, man, they're reaching out within the community. And I'm sure if he had a chance, he'd be trying to do it worldwide if he could.
Sure.
And when you open your heart, you open the door to give, and give is love. This world, and I'm not going to go into politics or what I see on the TV or the news, but let me tell you something, brother. We at a great place in our lives in this day and time and point and moment. This world needs love, just like Mr. Mojo was speaking about. When you give, like what you call it, a dopamine high, bro, that touches. And from that giving, you keep giving, it goes forward. I've already given since meeting Mr. Parameswar, but I'm going to continue to give because it's only right, man. It's only right to give. So the lesson I say that I've learned is, one, don't give up and press on. Two, if you look for resources, they're out there. You got me?
Absolutely.
Three, always be thankful and grateful, because help, it's not going to come from everybody. If the government don't help you and you was in the government, you could just about say and guarantee ain't too many more people going to help you. You follow me?
Yeah.
Mr. Reed, I think I'm going to hire you as a voiceover.
Right.
Anytime I need to send a sexy message to my wife, I'm gonna text it to you. You do an audio recording, and I'm gonna message you, because I think I would get my way.
Nah, I think I'd be fired, and you'd probably be on the verge of divorce.
She might be replacing Mojo. How about it?
Yep.
Nah, I would be fired from him, and he'd be on the verge of divorce, bro. Hey, I'm not saying that against sex or nothing, but I ain't been with a woman in like 14 years, bro. And not to say a woman with a conflict of interest, but to my perspective, most women I meet, they want the same thing. I want some money. You know what I mean? So before I give a woman money, I'll give it to another homeless person or a veteran. I can't go by a bus stop and see a homeless woman on a bus stop bench, like my mama aged in her 80s. I don't care what nationality. I got to go to the ATM and give them some of my money while I'm still on the streets. And when I give, God going to give back to me. And my blessings have come from God through these gentlemen, this whole ring that you see on your podcast. I love it, man. I thank God for y'all. Y'all made my day. For real.
I'm not going to say I'm in the same boat as you, but I've been married for 15 years, so it's pretty close.
Pretty close. Hey, you blessed. What that gentleman up to my far left? He was the one with the beard. Why are you laughing? How long you been married?
I've been married for 9 years, but
you blessed.
Biggin likes to joke about his honeymoon. So
yeah,
I thought that was every day.
Oh Lord, no, sir. Again, I'm pretty close to where you're at as well.
Don't go there.
I've been married for 24 years. My wife and we've started counting ours in dog years, so I think it's like 168 years. We've been married, I think. So
that's
a boy.
Hey, I want to compliment and congratulations to all of y'all that's married for real. I was married before, but that has nothing to do with my situation, really. But sir, you've been married 24, man. I can't remember what they call 25, but I want to congratulate you on that 25th before it come, because you've been married that long. Oh, you ain't getting rid of her. That's love, bro. That's love.
She'll probably
bro.
She'll probably kill me before the 20th.
Nah, she loves you too much for that. That's love.
No doubt.
That's what the world
Mr.
is.
Reed, what's the hopes for the future for you? Where are we going?
My whole goal was coming out here through the VA to try to build a foundation, because without a foundation, you got nothing to build upon. So I want to get my life back structured, just like my pops was telling me before he passed. He want to get a piece of land and grow his own food so he know what he's eating, because like the cowboy days, I was born in 64, like 69, early 70. There used to be a lot of farmers, you know what I mean? A lot of, you had a lot of cattlemen, a lot of farmers where people were growing the food we're eating. Now I believe everything basically being grown by the government. They learned how to clone the first sheep probably over 30 years ago. Steroids, animals are bigger. I was in Tifton, Georgia some years ago, and we went to a place called Brother Charlie's. Went to pick up, it's like a Goodwill. They went to pick up some clothes in the country, and this dude had some chicken silos. And he said he's going to take the chickens to the market to sell them. He said they were 33 days old. I said to myself, a chicken don't get big in 33 days. I never raised a chicken. I don't know, but I don't think it grow that fast in 33 days.
No.
So I'm saying to myself, like, what did he do to make the chicken that big? And it can't be nothing that's healthy, because if that's the case, my daddy told me there's nothing new under the sun. They would have figured out how to make chickens big back in the cowboy days.
Well, listen, they figured out how to make children big. I know that much.
Well, we got to be careful. We got to be careful what people are getting, because like I had a small heart attack, and my doctor took me off work like 15 years ago. I stopped working when I was 40, but I had a small heart attack like 11 years now. And the doctor, he said, "Do you drink?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How much you drink?" I said, "Like 2 beers a day." He said, "Well, you keep drinking. Drinking ain't getting a heart attack." He said, "You smoke?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "How much you smoke a day?" I said, "About 6 cigarettes a day." He said, "Well, you keep smoking. Smoking ain't get a heart attack either." I said, "What did?" He said, "The food you was eating."
Mm-hmm.
The food.
Yeah, we may need to get back to no more Wendys. I know that much.
Yeah.
I ain't saying that. Enjoy the food you love eating.
Sure. It's all in moderation, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Lee, to get back to you, you also helped Mr. Reed by collecting a bunch of items and stuff that he needed. Was that correct?
Yes.
Are you still collecting like that kind of stuff for veterans, or specifically for Mr. Reed?
Yeah, my wife, she's borderline hoarder. So,
I think they're all. I think they all are.
And, she's always going to the Goodwill, thinking about, hey, let's get this. Somebody might need it, or all kinds of stuff like that. So she's always keeping her eyes open for clothes, anything that somebody can use.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to, could they drop it off or get in contact with you if they have some donation things that they want to give to you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And then we'll just bring it on over here. Well, absolutely.
Okay. Fantastic. Tintu, what are some of the red tape things that you had to overcome to help Mr. Reed?
Well, primarily it was trying to figure out how that break happened between the VA having custody of someone that was already at risk to them putting him out on the out of the program. Unfortunately, you never get clear answers for that. There's always the politically correct responses you get for it. Oh, that's not part of the treatment program, or well, that wasn't part of the protocol, because everything runs off protocol for them. Now I know we gave you the filtered version of Mr. Reed's day of leaving the VA hospital. One of the beautiful portions he left out is while he was sitting on the sidewalk, like he said, someone who's an alcoholic went back into treatment, who's left back to where they came from. Naturally, they're going to revert back to what they were comfortable with, which was drinking. The gentleman thought, I got nowhere to go, nothing better to do, so I'm going to have myself a drink. And here come the VA federal police, and they cited him. I believe it was 4 different tickets, right? That we have on hand right now. Four different tickets. They cited 4 tickets the day he was in the program. So it was those red tapes right there. How do you expect someone who just walked out of the VA to resolve 4 citations you issued on VA property? Again, the VA property concept, people find it hard to understand, but federal property, they own 30 feet into the road, all 4 directions of their property. So it was a city sidewalk he was on, but by technicality, it belongs to the federal government. So you were drinking on federal property, or whatever it is, container on federal land. Those barriers, that it's never an easy step to break away from, where he went and got himself help. If the next step in resources was available to him, he wouldn't have ended up with tickets. Instead, he would have probably been making phone calls, working with a social worker, trying to get established, or working with a financial worker, trying to get his finances in order. Again, one of the things I'd like to emphasize to you, gentlemen, is that Mr. Reed is not someone with $0 monthly. He does have an income that comes from his service that he served for DOD. However, like he explained, for someone, once they fall into that cycle of homelessness, getting out of it is extremely difficult. Someone at his age or his disabilities, you're not employed to have 3 times the income saved away or 3 times the income coming in on a monthly basis for him to get himself a home and recover. That's where organizations like ours and Volunteers of America step in and help bridge that portion of it, saying, okay, let's find you a place, let's get you set up and started, because once that's established, you can go ahead and self-maintain and care for yourself. So those barriers, where one resource is there, but the next one is not, there's a huge gap. It's like trying to leap over stones, but those stones are set extremely far apart. Even today, what Mr. Reed's situation is trying to get a place that would allow him to, be exempt from that income requirement. If that is forever the requirement out there, nobody's willing to waive it.
That ain't gonna happen.
Individual like Mr. Reed might as well go right back to the street because it is not a recoverable situation. Again, the barriers.
I know that.
Another one is that we come across is the response time, where Arnold had notified me. I believe he called me at 1 a.m. I was knocked out. Around 4:30 in the morning, he had messaged me. I saw it. I reached out, said, "Hey, what's going on?" He explained me to the situation. 4:30 a.m. Him and I had conversed about it. 4:30 p.m. We had Mr. Reed off the street in a hotel. So the response time is a lot faster for us. We are able to respond knowing that the VA, the HUD-VASH systems, or other housing authority assistance programs out there take time to respond. It'll take a day or 2 or 3 days for them to respond. As Mr. Reed mentioned earlier, we housed him for 4 days, which is about the standard that ODV can house financially. But quickly we realized the organizations we were trying to pull together to help us carry him forward were going to be longer in delay in their response time. And that's where Blue Collar and the SFP and Mr. Lee and everybody stepped in and helped us, because we ended up having to house him for about 11 days. And from there, the next organization came in and took over. But again, the next organization takes over, they have protocols as well. So here's another barrier where that organization is willing to start Mr. Reed established in his housing with his utilities and everything, but the burden is on Mr. Reed to go find this place. Now we're talking about a gentleman who just came out of a homeless situation, who has no private transportation. Of course, knowing where we are currently, public transportation is very limited. And of course, income being limited, the amount of money he would spend trying to commute to different homes and properties becomes difficult as well. So that's another barrier there. Then again, when these documents and other elements need to be pulled together, the commute to get to these locations, it's never the location coming to you or the organization coming to you. In ODV's case, we're blessed and fortunate to be able to do that. We're able to commute to our resources or to our veterans that need the resources, or even digitally reach out. Because again, for us, one of the reasons, as you had mentioned, Biggin, the reason ODV doesn't have or is able to help nationally is because we don't believe in a geo-boundary with today's technology. It's not necessary. But the reality of it is people like Mr. Reed will always face a barrier, one or the other, if we don't have multiple elements of resources that come in to block those barriers and move them out of the way. And that's the unfortunate reality. It's never a one-stop shop solution. Like a lot of these organizations who expect them to say, hey, we build a house for a veteran, that's it. But what about getting the utilities established for the vet? Oh, well, we pay for utilities, but we don't pay for rent. So why pay for his utility when he can't have a house anymore by next month? So it's those elements where everyone needs to come together to remove those barriers. Barriers will always be there. That's the unfortunate reality of this. Like we talked about, the red tape is exactly what that is. It's the barrier. Everyone's got a boundary or a limit to what they're willing to do or what they're capable of doing. And as a private entity, when we have the support of communities and small business like you guys, we don't have those boundaries. As long as our board of directors gives us the green light, what we can do for our veterans is honestly limitless.
Yeah. Well, tell me about PATH. What is PATH?
So PATH is, it's an abbreviation for Peer Assisted Transition and Healing. One of the initiatives within ODV's programs, it's part of our homeless prevention initiative. What we were encompassing or designing in our minds, we're taking stories like Mr. Reed, and we have other gentlemen that we're working with as well, who are on the street, who are in those situations where we can remove them, house them for 90 days within our facility. It's a transition facility. We'll house them for 90 days, but within that facility, you have us, the ODV staff, that will help them file their benefits, get them connected with local resources. We'll have the county veteran service officers working with us that would come out there and help them file their paperwork. We'll have, the Social Security Administration, Department of Labor, because at the end of the day, when that veteran comes into our building and he walks out at that 90-day mark, the goal is to make sure he's able to self-sustain by having a roof over his head, by having food and clothing, by being financially stable, and being employed. Our concept in America of homelessness is one without a house. But we're forgetting he became without a house because of something else. He either lost his job, or he became substance dependent, or he was financially, irresponsible. There's many reasons that led to him being without a house. If we classify a homeless person just as somebody that is without a house, and you give every homeless person a house, you haven't solved the problem yet, because they still might have that substance issue. They might have that financial responsibility. So with PATH being a one-stop facility, what we want to be able to do is take these veterans off the street, assess the whole concept of what happened. Is it a substance issue? Okay, we need to solve that before we put you in a house, because otherwise you'll end up back in the same place you're at. Is it a physical issue? Then we need to get you the help you need for that, or a mental health issue. We got to resolve those along with getting them, to being no longer homeless by giving them a home. But that is essentially what PATH is going to be. We are currently scouting facilities, and our board is in active conversation with it right now. We want to be able to have something midway between, the Salisbury VA hospital and the Charlotte hospital as well. That way we can make sure our veterans get to those appointments, they get the care and help they need. One of the things we decided or went into the design of the PATH facility up here, the transition facility, is the idea that if I have this veteran, for example, Mr. Reed, who comes to me and I say, hey, you can live here for 90 days, but here's where you need to go to speak to the VA. Here, you got to go to speak to this guy. Then you need to go downtown to talk to the Social Security people, then hike out 20 miles this way to go, get a new pair of shoes. You can't, you're putting something unreasonable. It's truly an unreasonable burden we're implementing on this veteran. So at the end of the day, we're really not resolving his problem. With ODV's PATH facility, we want to have a residential facility with we want to have a dining facility where we provide them their food that encourages them to save their money. We want to have counseling centers within the building. We want to have a pantry and a closet for veterans that choose to live on the street. Come in and get some clean clothes, come in and get some canned food. If that's your choice, then go ahead and be there, but you have a safe haven to come to. We're not going to operate as a shelter, so to say, but more of a transition facility, because we believe that the more exposure we can give the veterans to resources that exist, like Mr. Reed said, there is help out there. It's just getting to that help. So if we can have that help in one place, and this veteran lives there, eats there, sleeps there, and all his resources are in one place, 90 days would be ideal for us to get him back on his feet or her back on their feet and moving forward to a progressive reintegration back into society.
That's fantastic, man. I love the heart and the vision of that, because like you said, you address the substance, the mental health, and the physical, and I'm sure the spiritual as well will be a part of that. That's fantastic. Guys, I've hogged the entire conversation. Do you guys have questions? I feel like I've just taken over everything.
No, I'd love this story. I don't have any questions, but I love the story. This is good stuff.
Well, I have a marketing idea for you, Tintu. So, which I'm full of great marketing ideas. If anyone knows me, so I have a music studio next door to me. They do R&B, so I'm going to have them recut Naughty by Nature's OPP to ODV.
That's great. As long as we can get any copyright infringement waivers, and in a nonprofit we can't afford those big lawyers. You guys got to.
Oh, I
guess I might have to contact the appropriate sources.
Yeah, that worked out great for Vanilla Ice, right?
Yeah, gotta have that.
Hey, check this out. That's a good idea. What you got, Mr. Mojo, and the OPP. Yeah, you know me. Yeah, Naughty by Nature. Check this out. Why don't
Mr.
you
Reed,
get them to construct you another track? You hear me? Get him to construct you another track and just lay some more lyrics to it, kind of on the guideline as that. But loop. Now don't loop with you down with OPP. Don't loop you down with OPP. It's a dude. It's a dude. He used to make people's songs. I can't think his name because my memory lost. Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah.
I know y'all remember him, right? That dude makes songs. He made millions of dollars off songs. Like Michael Jackson made "Beat It." He made something like "Eat It." Yeah. Take his concept, and put that ODV on track, man. Yeah, that'll work.
Brandon, any questions for you that you wanted to bring?
I don't think they're appropriate for this podcast.
Understandable. We'll do the After Dark version.
Well, I am interested in talking to the 10-2 a little further about maybe doing a separate site. Maybe helping get the vet rants up, because in the bike, I'm in the bike community, not bicycles but motorcycles, and there's a tremendous
wrong button.
Biker community that are ex-military, ex-vet. So, to hear some of their stories, thank you. To hear some of those stories out there, it's heartbreaking to see that. You got to think about it. Let's just break it down. You have kids that were just in high school, previous couple of weeks, all of a sudden signing up for military. Go through boot camp, do this. Go to a war zone. A lot of these guys, and then are broken, and then they come back, and we expect them to integrate back in society without help. And so organizations like ODV, my extensive conversations with 10-2, and then the brokenness of the government system, which, like I said, we all know it's designed. Anyone tried to pour gas out of a gas can lately with these new government compliance nozzles? I mean, that describes things. Yeah, that describes the VA in a nutshell. Trying to pour gas out of one of these things without drenching your shoes and trying to set the car on fire. It just, that's just the way it works. So, man, if anyone's listening to this podcast early on, my political beliefs are government needs to get out of the way. Let organizations like ODV, if we're going to pay tax dollars, then, man, just cut the government out. Put these NGOs like ODV and the Path and things like that. Let these guys help out. They know best because they've been there. They have a heart for it. The average person who works for some of these organizations, they don't. I mean, they're there for the paycheck. I mean, I'm sure some of them probably have started out with great intentions, but it becomes a 9-to-5 job. And obviously, if 10-2's answering the phone at 1:40 in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning and whatever, these people are passionate. So, but like I said, I'm sure any of these guys sitting right here would testify. You don't have to.
Producer Brian, Rye Dog, any questions for these guys?
I don't have questions. Yeah, I've enjoyed hearing. We already knew what ODV was doing, but hearing a story that it kind of touched all of us a little bit. We heard some of the beginnings of it. It's just great to, hear more of that. It's the kind of thing that you can't really get enough of. So the more stories you can tell like that, I think only helps your cause.
Yeah. Putting a face and a story behind the organization, I think, helps a ton. And how it started, I think, Mojo, you said at a couple episodes or several episodes ago, you were just saying, hey, you talked to 10-2, they need some help, and Blue Collar Cycle Shop, is going to help. And then we said on our side that whatever money that we've raised so far from Patreon, every dollar of that went to help ODV. So we didn't, those folks that are trying to help us actually in turn help Mr. Reed. So it was just passing along of the stuff that has been given to us for the show. So we appreciate all of our Patreon subscribers that helped Mr. Reed. So it wasn't us. It was other people too, Mr. Reed, that was helping as well. They just didn't know it. So, guys, I appreciate you all so much, Mr. Lee, Mr. Arnold. We're going to have your business, your company's information on our show notes. So if anybody needs grading or pressure washing, look on our show notes. We'll have their information on our show notes there. Obviously, we'll have Operation Decisive Victory. Any final thoughts from anyone?
I mean, I do, because I'm short of words always. But
Come on.
I challenge everyone to look to your right and to your left tomorrow when you go out. Look, just seek to see if someone needs help. I mean, It doesn't take much. I mean, it could be like you're saying, going to the Dollar General and helping someone out who needs groceries, or you see that person who has only $3 to put in their gas tank and they have a car full of kids yelling. Help them out. I mean, it doesn't take much. Just a general act of kindness. I mean, I know we're all kind of scared right now, unless you have a face mask and a samurai sword on your hip. It's kind of hard to talk to people, but just pass love. I mean, that's the greatest gift that we can pass on, is just that human compassion to our fellow man. So that's it.
Absolutely. Mr. Reed, final thought segment.
Basically, it's something I learned in the Marine Corps in boot camp, and not to be military minded. They say leave no man behind. And when I was a kid in St. Louis, Missouri, it said take a village to raise a child. Your parents, they could be at work, but other people stepped up. The same border network right here is what a community should be built and based upon. Because I believe it may be any given moment in anyone's life, anyone can need help. To reach out and help that person, I think that's the greatest gift we could give as humanitarians. Because I think somebody said something about Jesus. I can't remember the exact quote. I think Mr. Mojo said, what would Jesus do? Just like the Marine Corps, don't leave nobody behind. Jesus wouldn't leave nobody behind. He do that out of love. He died for us all. We spread that love, bro, because right now this world is hurting. And just being a start of it, just being a start, because a lot of things, like I learned that chain of command and come from the top, it goes down, but to build, you got to start with a foundation from the bottom and go up.
Absolutely. Well, I know for a fact that Operation Decisive Victory is laying a fantastic foundation. So again, we cannot stress enough, please support this organization. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can give directly on their site. You can sign up for monthly giving. And you can also go to Amazon, smile.amazon.com, I believe it is. And you can add them as one of your charities that you want to give to. I mentioned a couple weeks ago again that hopefully you got the check from Amazon, because I bought some hemorrhoid cream, and hopefully that you got a few cents out of that. So,
yeah, I signed up for that. I changed my charity to them while they were talking today. So,
that a boy,
yeah.
Good job.
You know what? I'm going to dream big. If there's someone that listens to this podcast, it may not be you directly. It could be someone that you know indirectly. But look, Tentu's trying to put together this PATH program. I'm sure he needs housing, needs property, needs plumbing. There's got to be someone out there who has land, who has the necessary means to make this happen. So if you're feeling charitable, contact Tentu and Operation DV and help them make this dream a reality. So, I changed my business thing to Amazon Smile to ODV too, but we need the big dollar players. We need the guys who have the properties that can make this dream happen. So,
absolutely. We also want to say thanks again to Mr. Arnold's Pressure Washing, Mr. Lee from Groundbreakers, Grading and Hauling. Again, it's small businesses like you guys that are helping push this movement and making it a reality, and changing lives. So thanks again for all that you do on a day in, day out basis.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up our show. Mojo, take us out.
Appreciate you guys tuning in to this week's special early episode with Operation Decisive Victory. You can find us on Facebook at Southern Fried Philosophy. You can also find us on our website at southernfriedphilosophy.com. You can go to pretty much wherever you go to listen to your podcast, unless it's some Chinese hack app that Apple Store doesn't allow. You just go in there, search Southern Fried Philosophy. You can just go there, do the old magnifying glass, Southern Fried Philosophy, hit subscribe, give us a like, share your favorite episodes. Also, you can find us on Twitters and Instagram at SFP Radio. Also, our Patreon link at Patreon.com/SFP Radio or YouTube at SFP Radio. Most importantly, if you haven't registered to be a donor yet, please do that. You can also sign up to be a voter for this upcoming election season, too. You can make a difference there also.
Thanks again. And again, we appreciate all you guys to listening and tuning in. And as always, keep looking up.